Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Thursday, June 11th, 2026. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, FISA fizzles as Trump demands more Pentagon money. Number two, we've got some news here. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer backs Stevens in Michigan and talks 2026 opportunities. Plus, number three, House moderates look to back H.R. 2, a sweeping border and surveillance and security bill. All right, let's get into it, Jake. A lot in this morning's edition, looking at how we are before 5 a.m. on Thursday, June 11th, and the opportunity to get FISA passed before it expires on Friday. It has completely dimmed while the president seems to have moved on to the idea of a massive need for Pentagon money and reconciliation 3.0.
A few things here. First of all, the Knicks, holy Lord. I thought we were going to have to, go find John Bresnahan, like running around the streets of Washington, D.C. but he's
Brez
here.
is a massive Knicks fan for anybody who doesn't know it. Follow him on Twitter.
Yes, he is. But let's talk about FISA quickly. Let's be clear about what's going on. House and Senate Democrats are blocking FISA. They are blocking FISA because they don't agree with the fact that Bill Pulte is acting director of national intelligence, and he has no security experience. Democrats say there's just no chance. You want a short term, you want a long term, you got to get Bill Pulte out of there. Trump says no. He says no. He says, I'm not doing that. And you should not allow other issues to block FISA. World Cup is coming up, July 4th, America 250, all sorts of large gatherings around the country, and the United States needs FISA. So the House is going to have it on the floor today. It's not going to pass. The Senate's going to have it on the floor today. Most likely, maybe they're going to try for a UC, unanimous consent request. It's not going to pass. Democrats are going to have to object, and then the House and Senate are going to go home without extending FISA. And, listen, if Trump waited a week to put Bill Pulte, who has no national security experience, no intelligence experience, nothing like that, if he waited a week, he would have had FISA. It would have been over.
I mean, it would have been complicated. I think to your point, though, that it made it basically untenable for Democrats to support it. I mean, this is following up an extension. The politics never changed in this, right? Democrats didn't want to give him the win on it. I mean, Bill Pulte puts a fine point on it, but this was already going to be very, very
It was already going to be hard, though. Yes, but they had a bipartisan compromise that would have been tough to pass, but it would have passed. It would have been really difficult, but it would not have been impossible. FISA is always difficult. It's more difficult when you have other issues in the mix. So yes, Democrats are blocking it. Democrats are the ones who are preventing this from passing today, a short term until July 2nd, I think it is. But Donald Trump made a strategic decision that has impacted that, So anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is important, though. Everything has consequences, right? And the president doesn't like to pull back or have to shift gears. He already had to do it in the weaponization fund. He already got his hand slapped when it came to the $1 billion ballroom. This is like the third time in a row in the last month or so that what this administration wants to do is at odds with what not only Democrats, but also a lot of members in his own party think is a good idea. There's a lot of folks who are very skeptical about the idea that Bill Pulte, a guy who doesn't have any national security experience, should be the person in this position. And we'll have to see, do they end up pulling back? Is that going to be the way forward here? But also just kind of striking that lawmakers now, the MO is, hey, even if they don't get it done, they just leave town. There's not the ability or the desire to say, hey, we're going to make you grind it out, stay over the weekend. Kind of the typical things that leadership would have done to try to twist arms, that is not happening.
Agreed. We should also say this. I got some time with Mike Johnson yesterday morning as he came into the Capitol early in the morning, and he said there are some in the administration who think that Trump could sign an executive order to try to obviate this. I don't know that that's true, but I guess the thing that people say, and again, I'm not a lawyer, although I wish I was. I don't have any idea whether this is true, but at issue here, at least in part of the issue, is that the telecoms without FISA, without Section 702, do not have a liability shield, and
Mhm.
they could try to give a liability shield through executive order.
I think that's gonna be tricky.
I don't know. Listen, let's say this. It is better to pass a law than it is to sign an executive order, right? I mean, no question about that. And yeah, they're going to go home. And by the way, the House is out next week. So, this is not going to be something where this kind of turns around next week and they have it all set. It's not. I mean, the House is out next week. They are not in session. And Democrats have made this calculus. So
Everybody's making their calculus, right? Republicans have Trump has
totally.
made his calculus. This
Yeah,
isn't
yep,
it's
yep.
nothing's happening in a vacuum.
Right, because he could pull Pulte.
Correct. Right. And
Yeah.
that could change the
Right.
dynamic, right? And all of a sudden you have Democrats saying, okay, this was our litmus test. That has now, been met. So we'll have to see. All right, let's talk about Trump's Pentagon trouble with the fight over Reconciliation 2.0 finally over. That's that ICE and CBP funding for $70 billion, which will fund it for the rest of his term. Trump is now stepping up his calls for a massive increase in Pentagon funding via reconciliation. This is a serious problem for GOP leaders. I mean, we have been talking about this and the fact that the appropriations process is breaking down, the fact that there's not even agreement on top line numbers, and I think a lot of skepticism, not just among Democrats, but among Republicans about what all of this money would potentially be used for.
Yeah, and we should say, Anna, we have Jason Crow, Democrat of Colorado, today on Flyout Day. We'll talk to him about FISA. We'll talk to him about this. He's on Hask and Intel, so he's a good guest for today. $350 billion in reconciliation to and the SAVE Act. Trump is struggling on the Hill. He is. He seems to be, at least personally, not his staff, but he seems personally to be a little bit lost. I mean, with $350 billion and a SAVE Act, which cannot pass the muster of reconciliation, he's called for the firing of the parliamentarian. That is not going to happen. It does seem to me that Trump is kind of setting up John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, as a fall man for losing in the elections. He's going to say, well, if we did this, if we did that, if we did the other thing, if we had the SAVE Act, if we had $1 trillion in Pentagon spending, we would have won. A lot of people, Mitch McConnell and Susan Collins included, do not believe there is going to be a third reconciliation bill. And by the way, John Thune has said it's tough. He said we have to find something that hits the sweet spot that could get the votes, et cetera, et cetera. This is a tall ask. It's a very tall ask on June 11th of an election year to pass $350 billion in defense spending, and that's it. I mean, maybe it works. In the House, I think it's going to be difficult. The Senate, I think it's going to be difficult. And I think the SAVE Act cannot get past the parliamentarian. So,
as being added to part of the reconciliation bill, just to clarify. All right, Jake, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer caught up with Punchbowl News and our very own Andrew Desiderio. And while he has been supportive of Haley Stevens in Michigan on Wednesday, he effectively endorsed her, an aggressive move because obviously that primary doesn't happen until August, but feels like Schumer is very bullish on all of the different potential pathways forward for a Senate majority for Democrats, something that even a few months ago seemed out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, Andrew and Laura sat down with Schumer in his office yesterday on Wednesday, and he said, I think she has the best chance to win. That is Haley Stevens. She's in a primary against Mallory McMorrow and Abdul El Sayed to face Mike Rogers in Michigan. This is a big development. I mean, Schumer was saying this stuff behind the scenes, but he is not saying it publicly. Saying that she has the best chance to win is endorsing her. I mean, I don't know what to tell you otherwise. I mean, it is an endorsement. Does it help in a Democratic primary? I don't know, but it will help with donors and it'll help with a lot of money off the sidelines. But yes, the fact that we are talking, Anna, about a Democratic majority is relatively new. We didn't think it could happen. And the road runs through, of course, Michigan, but it also runs more squarely through Maine, where Graham Plattner is the nominee, facing Susan Collins, which has turned into a tough race. I mean, it'll go up and down between now and then. And Iowa, Ohio, Alaska, red states that are in play, or relatively red states that are in play. Schumer says Texas, and, I'm a little bit more bearish on Texas, but it's certainly possible. I'm only bearish because Senate Democrats haven't won that Senate seat or had a statewide elected Democratic official since Ann Richards was governor, which was a long time ago before George Bush was governor. So anyway, Very interesting item from Andrew and Laura. Securing that endorsement was Haley Stevens in Punchbowl News.
All right, let's run the number 3 story of the morning. Just 145 days before what's expected to be a bruising midterm election, moderate Republicans are ready to again support a sweeping border surveillance and security bill that narrowly cleared the House last Congress. This is really interesting. You've got Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, the Republican from Pennsylvania, and Representative Kevin Kiley, the independent from California, who caucuses with Republicans, both saying they voted for H.R. 2 when it came to the floor in 2023, and they would do it again.
Here's what I would say. H.R. 2 was a big issue last Congress when the border was more of a mess. Donald Trump has said, and he's right on this, he has shut down the border. I mean, crossings are at basically zero. You could argue that he's had the wrong policy or it's not the right thing or whatever, but it has been a big success of this administration in their eyes and in Republicans' eyes. Chip Roy, who just lost his primary for Texas AG, had secured a vote on H.R. 2 when he was haggling on the floor the other day. But the fact that they are spending time, or they're going to have to spend several days on border security during a time where people's highest priority is affordability and other items is crazy to me. I mean, they could spend this time a lot better. A lot of them have voted for this. I understand that. And I think, they're like, well, why don't we just do it again? It doesn't make a difference to us.
Don't you think this has a lot more to do with the fact that the border and security was something that a lot of Republicans, think that they won on in the last election? I mean, I think it's an interesting change. And now you've seen obviously what happened with ICE and the contentiousness across the country there. I'm not sure that bringing this up, whether or not the border is more secure or not, is going to be the smartest decision, right? To your point, there are a lot of other things that people are focused on: the price of gas, being able to buy groceries, affordability generally, kind of the kind of unpopularity of the president and the war in Iran. I mean, this is going nowhere in the Senate. So this is just the House kind of making a messaging bill at this point.
I think the reason they're doing this is not strategic at all. It's that Chip Roy was haggling on the floor to pass something else. He said he wanted this, and Johnson had to give it to him. I mean, I could tell you that there are those in the leadership. I got in the car after that happened, and I was getting calls from people in the leadership who were like, why are we letting Chip Roy, who just lost his primary and is not going to be here next Congress, why are we letting him dictate the floor agenda?
But another example of how in such a tight majority, one lawmaker and the House can just say that, put their finger to the wind and say, this is their issue of the day, and potentially, either cause the floor to shut down.
Everyone's a kingmaker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's quite stunning.
Yep.
All right. We will leave it there. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. One quick thing I wanted to flag. We have a new custom product focused on affordability and home ownership. You can check that out at punchbowl.news. Encourage you to do that. And otherwise, if you like the Daily Punch, please share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all these stories and more by going to punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.